All right, so here we go. Number 68. Solve the equation by completing the square. And they've given us a squared minus 6a plus 8 equals 0. And they want us to complete the square. And the way that we're going to do that is the first thing we want to do is go ahead and move the constant from the left to the right. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 8 from both sides. And that's going to leave us with a squared minus 6a, and then we're going to leave a little space here, equals negative 8. And the whole reason for completing the square is because we want to be able to write the left-hand side of this equation as a perfect square binomial. And that's going to help us to solve this equation. And the way that we actually complete the square is we're going to take half this middle term and then square it and add it to both sides. So, in this case, you can think of the middle term as being negative 6, take half of negative 6, and square it. So, half of negative 6 is negative 3 squared is positive 9. So, we're going to add 9 to the left-hand side, and as I said, we also want to add 9 to the right-hand side, because whatever we do to the left, we have to do to the right, right? This is an equation. And so in order to remain balanced, we have to make sure that whatever we do to one side, we're doing to the other. Now you notice that I said you can think of the middle term as being negative 6 in that we took the sign, didn't we? But if you were to just take half of 6, which again is 3, square it, you'll also get 9. So whether or not you take that middle term and square it really doesn't affect the outcome, because no matter what, when you complete the square, you're always going to be adding whatever the square of that middle term is when you take half of it, right? Because a negative squared is positive, and of course a positive squared is also positive. So it doesn't really matter whether or not you take that sign with it when you take half of this number. All right, so now that we've completed the square here on the left, we're going to go ahead and write this trinomial here on the left as a perfect square binomial. So the way that we do that is we're going to take the variable that we're working with, in this case, a, and then we're going to take the middle sign, in this case, a minus or a negative, and then what is half of 6, 3, and then squared. And that's really the whole reason that we want to complete the square here on the left, is so that we can, again, write this trinomial here as a perfect square binomial. And now equals, well, negative 8 plus 9 is positive 1. So again, whatever variable you're working with, whether it's x or a or m, whatever letter you're working with is what you're going to start your perfect square binomial with. Take the sign of the middle term here. So if this was a plus, this would be a plus. If this is a minus, this is a minus. And then what's half of this number here? Here we were given 6, and so half of 6 is 3. Wrap that in parentheses and then square it. And now we want to start to solve for a. So we want to solve for a. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and take the square root of both sides. And when we take the square root of both sides, we are able to eliminate that square. And we're left with now a minus 3 equals plus and minus radical 1. And if we want to solve for a, let's go ahead and add 3 to both sides. I'm going to bring this over here. And we end up with a equals 3 plus and minus radical 1, right? But what is radical 1? Well, radical 1 is, of course, just 1. And so now we have two answers here, don't we? We have 3 plus 1, which is 4. And we have 3 minus 1, which is 2. And so a equals 2 and 4. And there we have it. Number 68, we completed the square. And it's not a bad idea to go ahead and take both of these solutions, plug them back in just to make sure that everything we did was correct. But if you were to take 2 and 4, plug it in for a, you would see that we do have the correct answer. So number 68, completing the square, a equals 2 and 4.